and we welcome you all to our week 2 of our Getting Social with Your Social Media. This week is standout subject lines, and I think I mentioned at the end of last session that when I sat through this portion of Kim's face-to-face piece, this is the one that kept me from leaving and going to do my own presentation. I got to get over there, get set up. But I was so enthralled in what she had to say about the subject line and how it matters so importantly. And then this, I think she spends more time in this webinar than she does in her face-to-face and when you start talking about subject lines. So she dives pretty deep into this. So again, as I always do, I'm the poll guy. I want to hear your poll. I want to hear what you have to say. So I want to know, what kinds of emails do you send? And ignore that, click all that apply. You should only click, I forgot I changed this to a one of, or did we say, well, I think we changed it, didn't we not? So do you send everyone everything, promotions, newsletters, blasts, just anything informative? You send it to everyone. Every time you send an email, it goes to everyone on your list. Do you do at least some targeted promotionals? Where do you, or do you only do targeted promotionals? So if you do a little bit of both, I want you to click C. But if you click, if you do somebody who does most everything targeted, where you're sending stuff, birthday parties, and you're sending things specific by age or specific to leagues, click B. And if you're someone who does a little bit of both, then click C, because I'm probably closer to that person, where I do some targeted and some blast. Kim's going to talk to us a little bit more about some of that, I'm sure. And then finally, if you're not doing any emails, don't be ashamed. That's fine if you don't do any emails. That's what this is all about, getting you educated enough to do just that. So here I've got about, oh goodness, 90% of the people have voted. That means almost everybody's awake. We got a couple people sleeping, but that's okay. We're going to close this poll, and what did I do? Close. And I'm going to share the results. Look at this, Kim. What do you think of that?
This is good.
That's awesome. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our speaker. And I'm going to, while I'm doing this introduction, I'm going to give her the presentation here so she can run her presentation for you. And I'm just going to fill the time just for a second. And I got to hide that before it'll do it. Remember, we had that problem when we did the dry run there, Kim. So
yeah,
what we let me give you a little background here from Mrs. Schott. She is, to me now, I think she's carved her own little niche in our bowling world. She spoke with Michigan a couple of times, Ohio, and us at Summit, because she spent so much time with us. And what I love about it is I get to spend at least one meal, lunch or dinner with her, not because I begged her to come with me, but because she's wanting to pick our brains. She wants to hear what matters to us in our little corner of the business world, and how our businesses can be the best that we can be in her specialty, which is the social media realm. So Kim, I'll let you do a little more of introduction to yourself. And again, I thank you for taking the time to spend with us. And we thank Constant Contact for sponsoring this to allow us to afford you to speak in all of these sessions with us. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kim Schott.
thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate it. And as Kelly mentioned, I learn as much from the BPAA members as I do from just the data that I receive from Constant Contact as it relates to the family leisure and family recreational industry. But today's seminar, what we're going to talk about is standout subject lines. Why is it that the subject line inspires, engages, activates your customer to open your emails, read your emails, and take some results on the emails that they're receiving from you? So I noticed in the poll that most everyone sends out some form of digital email, and that's good news for me because it tells me exactly where I want to go with this webinar today. You see, email is really hard to beat because you have 91% of the adults that are already receiving promotional emails from companies that they have a high trust relationship with. And as I mentioned in the previous webinar that we did last week, from the data from the U.S. Statistical Data and Labor Department, the average American household income is $56,000. And last year, $51,000 was spent on products and services. And one thing that I want you to be aware of is that 138% of those adults ended up spending more on products and services based on the emails they received about those promotional products or those promotional services. So adults like emails that have a high or have the ability to share with them a product or a service that they have a high trust relationship with. Obviously, adults will quickly delete spam. They do not want to have to sort through emails in their inbox from companies that they never heard of. But if they have a relationship with you and they already enjoy your product or your service, these adults do not have a problem utilizing your emails promotions and sharing your promotional emails with their friends, their family, and their colleagues. So email's hard to beat. They say for every $1 spent on email, you will receive $45 return on investment. That's another reason why email is just not hard to beat. What do subject lines do? Well, they get your email read, and that's important. They bring you more business and more revenue, and they build awareness around your business or your organization. Subject lines help engage your customers to come into your store. They engage your customers to talk about you, to share your email promotions with their friends, their family, and their colleagues. So it's important for us to focus in on what type of subject lines get these customers to spend their hard-earned money with you. If you think about it, more than a third of the people open an email strictly based on the subject line. So they're looking for something within the subject line that tells them why your email that you just sent to them is relevant today. And how relevant is it? Is it going to save them money? Is it going to save them time? What is it that your email is trying to help them accomplish? But a third of the people will open an email strictly based on the subject line. And as a marketing professional, we will do tests on subject lines, meaning we'll use the same coupon and we will email the same identical coupon, but we will switch out the wording in the subject lines to determine which group of adults open that email quickly and which group of adults would share that email quickly with their friends, family, and colleagues. It wasn't the discount that got the adults engaged. It was the subject line that piqued their interest. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is that most adults currently are using their smartphones or their tablets as their mobile inbox. That means that 53% of emails are opened on a mobile device right now. They're not waiting for their Mac computer or their Windows computer to boot up for them to check their emails. They're checking their emails simultaneously because they have their mobile device with them. They have a data plan that is accessible. And what are they looking for? Well, they're searching through their emails for offers, incentives, promotions on products and services that they enjoy. As a bowling center or a family recreational center, your customers are looking for your emails to let them know about the events that are coming up at your center. They're looking for opportunities to spend their money with you. But you need to capture their attention with that subject line. How many times a day do people check their phones or their tablets? Well, about 150 times a day. And again, they're looking through emails that have relevance as to why they would want to spend their money with you today versus anyone else. So today, we're going to talk about why subject lines are so important. We're going to also talk about how do you write good ones. After all, if subject lines are so important, you know your competitor wants to try to write a good set of subject lines as well. What do we need to consider on a desktop computer versus a mobile phone or a mobile tablet? Well, I'll tell you one thing you need to consider. You need to make sure your subject lines are short and to the point. And then finally, the next steps that you can take so that you can write some good subject lines and start testing them on your customer database. So let's move forward with subject lines and why they're so important. I want you to think about an email that isn't opened. An email that isn't opened just isn't effective. It doesn't get shared, and it gets deleted quickly. As a matter of fact, for some of you, if you're using Constant Contact or any other email marketing software, if you take a moment to read your reports, you'll be able to quickly determine how many of your emails not only got opened, but how many of them got shared. If your emails are not getting opened, then they're not getting shared, and more importantly, they're just not getting utilized. Since we know that adults enjoy receiving emails from companies that they trust, since we have the data that proves that adults not only are opening these emails, but they're printing them or they're simply carrying the email that has the coupon, the offer, the incentive, or the promotion on their phone or on their tablet right into the place of business. Since we know adults are doing that, if they're not opening up your email, then they're opening up a competitor's email. And you and your competitor may be offering the same darn discounts. You may be offering the same promotions, but what is the difference between you and your competitor? Well, most of the time it's the subject line. That's the main difference. You and your competitor could offer the same discount. You and your competition could be offering the same promotion. But why is your competitor's emails getting open and yours are not? Most of the time, it's simply because of the subject line. And so here's 3 reasons why customers open your email. Number 1, they recognize the sender. They know exactly who sent it. That means if your customers are getting an email from an email sender that says j2k at gmail.com and they have no idea who j2k is at gmail.com, guess what? It gets deleted. So the sender description has to be complete. Your bowling center, your family recreation center should have its own unique email address so that people recognize who you are. Another reason why people open your emails is because it was convenient when it comes to the timing. Think about when you actually sent that email. And if you're using Constant Contact, the reporting will let you know the best day of the week and the best time of the day to send your emails. That's why reading those reports are so important. Finally, a compelling subject line. Was the subject line worth reading? Was it easy to understand? Did people not only open it, but did they click on your links that you included in that email? And if you continue to read the reports, you'll also be able to determine which of those customers shared your email with their friends, their family, and their colleagues. So think about it this way, the subject line. Well, you're winning a battle of priorities when it comes to that subject line. You have no more than 2 seconds to capture the attention of your reader. So in 2 seconds, that subject line has to be worded in such a way that that adult understands in 2 seconds why that email is relevant today. Your subject line, since you are targeting adults who are more likely to read you on a smartphone or a tablet, that subject line should be no more than 5 to 8 words. I'm going to repeat that. Your subject line for your email should be no more than 5 to 8 words. 2 of those words need to be highly engaging, highly irresistible. And we're going to talk about how to develop or how to find words that are highly engaging or highly irresistible. And in that subject line, you also need to let them know why your email is relevant today. So this is in our marketing industry, we call this the 2-2-2 rule. You only have about 2 seconds to capture a reader's attention. You have to do it within 2 words. So 2 of those words out of the 5 words need to be highly irresistible. And that subject line needs to tell the reader why your email is relevant today. What happens if you don't meet the 2-2-2 rule? Well, people just simply do not open your email, and they delete your email in 2 seconds or less instead of reading it. And since we know adults, based on the statistics, we know that they are reading emails from family recreation, family leisure, and bowling centers. If they're not reading your email, they are reading your competition's email instead. So again, we need to consider the 2-2-2 rule when it comes to writing a good subject line. Which leads us into the next subject. How do you write a good subject line? Well, a good subject line can make or break an email. That's why I told you that since a majority of your adults, actually 53% of them, are reading your emails on their smartphone or on their tablet, a subject line needs to be between 5 to 8 words tops, nothing more than that. If it's more than 5 to 8 words, you've lost their attention, and they won't even bother. Whether they trust you or not, whether they enjoy your facility, bowling at your facility or not, whether they enjoy your arcade or your restaurant or not, if that subject line is too long, you just get deleted, because people's attention span has been shrinking. Another thing that a subject line does, well, it's a driver of sales. It helps people understand why your email is relevant when it comes to attending an event. For those of you who offer fundraising opportunities at your centers, it also lets people know how they can be successful in that fundraising opportunity. And it also helps with participation. So a great subject line helps emails to get opened. So there are a couple different ways that you can write a subject line. First of all, you can use the top appeal approach. And an example of that is 7 must-haves for fall. You'll notice that this subject line, 7 must-haves for fall, is only 5 words. In 2 seconds, it tells the reader with using 2 words, which is 7 and fall, why this particular email would be relevant today. Another approach to a subject line is the sense of urgency approach, where you could simply say only 12 seats left, get yours before midnight. Again, in 2 seconds, you've captured their attention by letting them know that there's only 12 seats left before midnight, and you're letting them know why this needs to be opened today. You can use the personalized approach by simply saying what you need to know about your personal finances. You could take the ask a question approach, and for the bowling centers, for family leisure and family recreation, the ask a question as well as the top appeal are some of the best subject line approaches that you can use. Exclusive appeal. For those of you who are targeting leagues, you may use an exclusive appeal approach to your lead, to the key influencer for your leagues. How about the stay in the know approach? Here's an example, 13 signs you're budgeting wrong. Notice within 5 words, you have 2 seconds or less explaining to your readers why they need to focus in on budgeting and why this is important today. So when it comes to designing great subject lines, these are 6 different approaches that you can use in order to catch your readers' attention. But when it comes to bowling centers, family leisure, family recreation centers, top appeal, and the ask a question approach wins your customers over successfully. So what are some ways that you can find inspiration? Well, because headlines in various newspapers and online articles are not, there are no copyright laws on those headlines, you can find a lot of inspiration out there. For instance, if you check the news by going to msnbc.com as it relates to the gaming industry, the arcade industry, bowling industry, family leisure, you will notice on msnbc.com that between 5 to 8 words are used in every single headline. And why are there only 5 to 8 words? Because MSNBC knows that 53% of their adult readers are reading msnbc.com on a smartphone or a tablet. So if you go to msnbc.com, you can actually see industry, fitness, health and wellness, exercise, family leisure industry articles, and they're all 5 to 8 words in length. But especially when it comes to family leisure, family recreation, and bowling centers, you'll always see the top appeal and the ask a question approach within the headlines. Another way that you can find inspiration, look in magazine headlines. I always, when it comes to bowling centers and family recreation centers, I like to ask people to look at golfdigest.com. And when you go to golfdigest.com, you'll see the 5 to 8 words approach in their headlines. And subject lines can also be 5 to 8 words, but they can also represent or mimic what you read in headlines. What I mean by that is you can actually swap out headlines for subject lines in your announcements. So when it comes to family recreation, exercise, and fitness, the headlines that are masterfully written for msnbc.com or golfdigest.com are written in a way for the highest amount of adult engagement and adult readership. When companies like msnbc.com or golfdigest.com hire a marketing firm to write those headlines, the 5 to 8 words that are chosen, they're not chosen at random. Each and every word of those 5 to 8 words fit the 2-2-2 rule. Because based upon industry analytics, we know which one of those headlines are being read within 2 seconds of landing on the web page, which 2 words people find the most engaging, and why they found that headline important to read today. So since many of you on the phone have never taken a subject line design class, maybe only a handful of you have ever even had a marketing degree or marketing class, I always encourage you to go out to some of these larger websites to find inspiration, because there are no copyright laws on headlines. And when you find a great headline as it relates to your particular arcade offering, family leisure, family recreation offering, even those of you who have restaurants, When you find a headline that meets that 5 to 8 word maximum, you can also use it as a subject line in your email. Why not check out top tweets on Twitter, the ones that have lots of engagement? If you search Twitter for trending trending tweets as it relates to family recreation, family leisure, the golf industry, the bowling industry, the arcade industry, you'll notice that those top tweets are also between 5 to 8 words. You'll also notice that a marketing firm was involved with creating the headlines on those tweets. So these are things that you can get inspiration from because there are no copyright laws on headlines. There are things called listicles that help you curiously click on their headline. 3 great sources of headlines that fit the 222 rule are on websites such as BuzzFeed or Upworthy or even the Mashable website. When you go to these websites, you will see headlines that match the 222 rule, and they are anywhere between 5 to 8 words. I want you to go out there and make it a goal within the next 30 to 60 days to start finding inspiration based upon the headlines you read and how you can repurpose those headlines as a subject line on your email blasts, on your newsletters, on your birthday announcements, on your league announcements, or your open bowling announcements. Either way, I want you to find some inspiration because, as I mentioned, adults love to open up email promotions. They love to open up family leisure and family recreation newsletter announcements. And if your emails are not being opened, then those adults are opening a competitor's email instead. And most of the time, the only difference between your email coupon and your competitor's coupon, the only difference between your newsletter and a competitor's newsletter is that your competitor had a better subject line. And most subject lines are just simply rewritten headlines that somebody found on another website. Let's talk a little bit more about a desktop computer versus a mobile phone and why this is important. Well, as I mentioned previously, we have a lot of adults out there that consider their mobile phone or their tablet as a mobile email inbox. 76% of the people read email on their phone. 67% of business-to-business workers are viewing emails on their phone, and 64% of key decision makers read emails on mobile. So for those of you who are trying to reach a decision maker, maybe at a corporation, perhaps you're trying to reach out to an HR director or a business owner or an entrepreneur on whether or not they should rent your bowling facility or family recreation center for their upcoming holiday extravaganza. Or maybe you're thinking about trying to reach out to that business owner on whether or not they should use your facility for their holiday party. Well, keep in mind that decision maker, that business owner, that entrepreneur is most likely to read your email on their mobile device. It's another reason why your subject line is so critical here. In 5 to 8 words, you should have a clear description as to why that business owner should be renting your facility versus someone else's facility. In 5 to 8 words, you should be very clear as to why your bowling center or your family recreation center is the better choice for that fundraising event. In 5 to 8 words, you should be letting people know why they should consider hosting their league at your center or open bowling at your center versus someone else's. Many people are making their decisions using their mobile devices. And how quickly are they making that decision? Normally within 1 hour of reading your compelling subject line, an adult is mobilized to either rent your facility, bowl at your facility, or bring their family to your facility versus a competitor's, all based upon that subject line. What is a pre-header text? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Mobile phones not only allow for a compelling 5 to 8 word subject line, but they also have something called a pre-header text. What I've done here in this slide is I've shown you what a pre-header text looks like to your customers. Your customers who are reading your emails on their mobile devices not only see your subject line, but you also, using Constant Contact or other email marketing tools, you have an opportunity to also add a 5 to 8 word pre-header text. Normally your pre-header text is in a smaller font. I had an opportunity to look through a variety of different bowling center and family recreation center emails that came to me recently. And I would say only 2 emails out of the 10 bowling center emails that I reviewed even used a pre-header text. And a pre-header text is used to give your reader a deeper understanding as to what it is they can get out of your offer, your incentive, or your promotion. So I want to encourage you to start considering not only a 5 to 8 word subject line, but also a 5 to 8 word pre-header text. Again, a pre-header text is what is shown on a mobile device. Those of you who were designing or writing subject lines for laptops, you never had to worry about a pre-header text because laptop computers and desktop computers do not show pre-header text, but a mobile device does. And out of the last 10 emails that I saw from bowling centers, especially bowling centers that had arcades inside, only 2 of them even utilized a pre-header text. And that is wasted marketing space that I'd love for you to consider start using. The size matter? Absolutely. You have to keep it clear, and you got to make it clever as well. What I tell people is that only about 30 to 40 characters really appear on most mobile devices. 6 to 11 words fit in best with a link to a larger article. That means that you don't have a lot of real estate space there to capture your reader's attention. If you keep in mind that your customers, your business owners are reading your emails on their smartphones, you want to keep that email, that promotion, that coupon as short as possible with a link to additional information if it's necessary. We tell people that a 4 to 7 word subject line is always the best. And think about if you're going to start experimenting with pre-header text on your mobile devices, no more than 11, 18 words tops. Again, we're targeting an audience that 53% of the time opens your emails on a mobile device. So that's why less is more in this particular example. You want to keep it very short. Whether you're using an email marketing software such as Constant Contact or even Microsoft Outlook for that matter, you need to continually understand that you've got a majority, almost half of your readers are reading your email on a 4-inch by 2-inch screen. It's not a lot of real estate for them to read you on. That's why you need to keep your sentences short. You need to keep your subject line short, no more than 8 words. You also need to keep your pre-header very short. If you want to write a newsletter, then no more than 11 words tops with a link to a longer article somewhere else. Because again, we need to keep the 2-2-2 rule in mind. And when I've been asked by other bowling centers to look at their email versus a competition's email, and they tell me, you know, what is it that I notice? What sticks out the most when I look at what their competition is doing versus what they're doing. The number one thing that I point out to bowling centers and family recreation centers that stands out to me the most is that the emails that are not getting opened are too long. They're too long and they have way too many pictures. And see it from your customer standpoint. If a majority of them are reading you on a 6-inch iPhone or a 4-inch by 2-inch smartphone, they do not want to scroll through your email 5 times to get a better understanding about your open bowling events, your league events, your restaurant specials. They don't want to do that. They want it quick and to the point. And so again, the number one thing that stands out for me when I look at bowling centers or family recreation center emails that are failing versus a competitor's email that is doing wildly successfully, including, and both sets of emails could be offering the same discount. The email is not doing well. The email that is not bringing in the customers is normally way too long. And that's why adults are deleting it. All right, let's talk about the next steps. If you're using Constant Contact, you can check the success of your subject lines by simply looking at your reports. Inside Constant Contact, they not only show you in the reporting the email open rate, the email click-through rate, but they also share with you the best time of the day and the best day of the week. What's nice about Constant Contact is you're actually assigned a marketing coach. So when you call them, you can ask for someone who is specific for your industry to look at your reports with you while you're on the phone with them. And they will point out not only which subject line did the best, but what the best time of the day and the best day of the week for you to send your emails. And think about talking with your most loyal customers about the type of emails they want to receive from you. When you're sending out an offer, an incentive, a birthday or anniversary promotion, or even a newsletter, brainstorm 3 versions with your most loyal customers, or brainstorm 3 versions of that email with your team, and test that email on a mobile device and a desktop before sending. I'm going to repeat that because it's worth repeating. Always test your email on a mobile device and a desktop simultaneously. Constant Contact allows you to do that so that you can see what 53% of the adults see on their phones. If after testing your email on a phone, if you don't like the way it looks, then 53 out of 100 adults are also not going to like the way your email looks on their phone either, and that's why it's being deleted. That's why you always need to test your email on a mobile and a desktop. Consider the preview pane display and pre-header text. Within Constant Contact, you not only can view your subject line, but you can also view your pre-header text simultaneously. And if that subject line or that pre-header text is way too long, meaning it's longer than 8 words, consider shortening it. Again, you need to keep in mind that 53 out of 100 adults are reading your email on their 4-inch by 2-inch screen or their 6-inch iPhone. And they're not going to want to have to scroll multiple times to try to get the gist as to what it is that you're offering them. And always monitor your progress. Always look at your reports. And if you're not comfortable looking at your reports, well, that's what your Constant Contact marketing coach does for you. It's already part of the package. You're assigned a marketing coach that will sit on the phone and interpret your reports for you. So with that being said, Kelly, I'm going to open it up for Q&A right now. Could you read to us what the first question is?
I certainly can. Our first question was, should the email be, when you talked about the the email should be from someone. Should it be from a person or a company tiled email? Like here, I'll just give you an example. We have, at BPAA. Should it be from education at BPAA, or should it be from Kelly at BPAA? Which would be a better way of having it titled?
Kelly. It should be from Kelly at BPAA. We have found that when people receive an email that has a person's name attached to it, they're most likely to not only open it, but they're more likely to share it with their friends, family, and colleagues as well. Because a customer wants to share an email that is relevant to them from Kelly, not necessarily from the education department.
That is a great answer. That's what I was trying to find out there. Thank you for the question that came in. The next one was, should the email subject line be customized or personalized, like Gerald, here is blah, 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 or should it be the more pointed? You with me on that? Do you get what they're asking?
Yes, I sure am. There are several different email marketing software companies out there that offer the subject line that can include a first name in the subject line. But I can tell you the way the email computer servers operate, that subject lines that include a person's name, especially if they're coming from an email marketing software, normally go into a quarantine folder, a spam folder on that corporate email server, versus a more generic but highly compelling 5 to 8 word subject line.
I have to tell you, that's not the answer I was expecting. I was expecting, hey, more personalized, more there. So that's a great question again from the audience. I'm glad that they asked that question. I'm
Can I tell you why that might be? Can I
Please.
go into just a moment, a little minute? Because more specialized or more personalized subject lines typically come from a CRM software like a Salesforce or a Zoho CRM software, a marketing automation software. And because of that, what these email computers or email servers, the reason why they end up getting flagged is because the Salesforces of the world, the Zohos of the world, they know that you may not necessarily have a relationship with that company and that they're just spamming, anywhere from 1,000 to 6,000 people. They're just simply plugging in a first name. That's why it ends up getting quarantined.
Oh, great. Great explanation. We have another question here. It says, we've heard that exclamation points are always a no-no. Is that true? Exclamation points, characters in the subject line, how does that convey?
If you're using an email marketing software such as Constant Contact or Vertical Response, you should not be using an exclamation point. If you are using Outlook.com or Gmail.com, there's a little bit more flexibility there because you know the person, you're not spamming the person. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're using an email marketing software like Constant Contact, I'm going to recommend that you do not use exclamation points. But if you're using Outlook or Gmail, it's fine.
Oh, great. Again, more detailed question. Another question here is, how do we keep our emails from going into spam? Is there a way to check on, is there a check within the software to check to see if it's spam or if you're more likely to go into spam or not?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There, in the reporting mechanism of the Constant Contact software, it actually tells you what percentage of your emails ended up sitting and being blocked. Your Constant Contact marketing coach that gets assigned to you, for those of you who are not using Constant Contact, you can sign up for a free trial, and we'll give you details on how you can do that in just a moment. But those of you who are using Constant Contact, you can call the 888 number you were assigned And you can just simply ask for an email marketing coach, and they'll tell you what percentage of your emails, and specifically which people never received your email because it ended up being blocked and put into quarantine on an email server somewhere.
Ah, great information. Follow up to the exclamation point. Is it a character thing? I mean, question marks okay, or at signs, or is it all those characters that would fall into that category you mentioned about doing it from an Outlook versus doing it from a service like Constant Contact?
It is a character problem. Dollar signs, question marks, exclamation points, quotes. The email marketing software typically triggers a spam flag versus if you're just sending a one-on-one email from Outlook versus Gmail, that spam flag isn't triggered.
You learned. That's why we're here, right? To learn a whole bunch of stuff just like that. If you don't mind, I've got a couple more questions. This is great.
Not
I,
at
I
all.
love I love the questions coming and rolling in today. Should we email?
And Kelly, may I ask a question? Does everyone know that if they have a question, they have to use the question window, not the chat window?
They do. I sent that information out to them while you were speaking, so they are following
Great.
directions perfectly. Should we email at the same time of day? Should we be consistent in our emails, or should they be at different times of day?
That's a great question. When you use an email marketing software like Constant Contact, or a competitor would be Aweber or Vertical Response, you should be looking at your reporting to determine the best day of the week and the best time of day. For those of you on the phone who use Constant Contact, you have been assigned a marketing coach that can look at your reports for you and tell you the best day of the week, the best time of the day, that your emails are not only being opened, but they're being clicked on and being shared. That's important because each and every one of you has your own unique business. You have your own unique offering. Some of you have restaurants and some of you don't. Some of you have arcades and some of you don't. So each of you have an audience that typically will open up your emails on different days of the week and different times of the day. So always review your reporting first.
Great. Again, this has been very informative, just as much informative on the question and answer as it is on the actual presentation. One more, I'm going to call it an odd question. Does it matter whether your numbers in your subject line are odd or even? Does it? I don't know where that came from, but hey, does it matter?
No, it doesn't. As long as it really doesn't matter. As long as you're not exceeding the 8 words. That's why if you go to msnbc.com or golfdigest.com, you're going to notice that their subject lines are very short. I mean, their headlines are very short. And you can repurpose their headlines as your subject line. So no, it doesn't matter if it's odd or even numbered
I
of
got to tell you,
words.
that is the trick that I used when I opened this whole thing. I said, hey, when I sat in your session and I improved my open rates, that is the trick that I personally used. I went out looking at NBC.com, MSNBC.com, and a couple other websites that you mentioned, and kind of stole a headline from the day and kind of tweaked it to make it relevant to me, but still kept it within that short window. And I probably had one of the largest open rates that I've ever had from an email. I think I told you that story. What's that? Almost 2 years ago now that happened. I think it was, or at least a year ago. I'm not quite sure. But I've exhausted all our questions for the day. So if there's no other questions that come in, just remember that you can email. You see Kim's information there on the screen. You can email her directly. And I'd like to thank Marissa Belmonte from Australia for being on the line with us and staying attentive the whole time as early as it is in the morning. I thought for sure she'd fall asleep while she was here, but hey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning there in Australia, and we thank you for being on with us here over in the States. So thank you very much, Marissa, for joining us today. And one final wrap up here. As you know, we will be back next Wednesday, March 9th. Then we'll take a little break and come back in April. But week 3 is Build Your Digital Marketing Toolkit. Kim, can you give us a little teaser on that? What exactly are you going to talk about in that session next week?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to understanding your marketing, your digital marketing, you have to understand that newspaper editors and newspaper publishers already set a foundation of good communication that you can also use in your digital marketing. If you're always sending out one form of email, such as a coupon, and if that is all you send out, well, eventually people are going to lose interest. So what we have found, by having a good foundation for your communication, you'll actually have 4 pieces of communication that you really should be sending it out on a monthly or quarterly basis. Not only to capture the attention of your readers, but so that you don't bore their socks off with the same type of email over and over and over again. So when it comes to building your marketing toolkit, you're going to learn about those 4 pieces of material that capture your audience's attention and encourage them to share your content a lot easier.
That's fabulous. I know that for sitting in a couple of your sessions out on the road, this one was really intriguing. This is a piece that I remember you did in Ohio, and that really was impressive about getting that champion to go out and be your person to go out and build your business. That's fabulous. We'll see that. They'll be here next week. Hope you all join us, but remember to tell your friends to join us too. If you have already joined us, we hope that you'll join us again, but you don't have to register. You're already registered for it by registering for this one. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for your time and your busy middle of your day. And we hope it was informative to you and help you grow your business. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Kim.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.